Chapter 11. The chief's pressure. The New Orleans Police Department's headquarters squatted on Tulane Avenue, a squat brick building that reeked of stale coffee and cigar smoke. Dawn broke over the French Quarter, its rosy light filtering through grimy windows, but the Mardi Gras revelry outside felt a world away. Inside, the air was thick with tension, typewriters clacking as officers shuffled reports on the Crescent Moon murders. 3 bodies, Henri Levine, Edgar Thibodeau, and now Judge Antoine Leclerc, each masked, each a blow to the city's elite. The killer was a phantom, and the pressure was crushing. Julien Dubois slumped at his desk, his fedora tossed aside, his scar stark under the fluorescent glow. His eyes burned from sleepless nights. The image of Leclerc's leering mask in the LeBlanc mansion's courtyard seared into his mind. The pattern was clear. The killer was dismantling New Orleans' power structure, one stab at a time, and the order, that shadowy cabal Clara and Tommy had whispered of, was at the heart of it. But evidence was slipping through his fingers, witness statements vanishing, crime scene photos misplaced, reports altered. Julien's gut churned with a suspicion he couldn't shake. Someone inside the force was sabotaging him. The door to Chief Inspector Harold Grayson's office swung open, and a bellow cut through the bullpen. "Dubois! Get in here now!" Julien lit a cigarette, the match flaring as he braced himself, and strode into the lion's den. Grayson stood behind his desk, a bulldog of a man with a graying mustache and a temper to match. His office was a shrine to his ego, plaques, newspaper clippings, a photo of him shaking hands with the mayor. The air was sour with whiskey, though it was barely 7 a.m. 3 bodies, Dubois, Grayson growled, slamming a fist on the desk, rattling a stack of files. 3 goddamn pillars of this city, carved up like Mardi Gras pigs, and you've got nothing but a cigarette and a scowl. The mayor's breathing down my neck, the papers are screaming, and you're chasing ghosts in ballrooms. Give me something, or I'll have your badge by sundown. Julien exhaled smoke, his voice steady but edged. I'm chasing a killer, Chief. Levine, Thibodeau, Leclerc, all elite, all at masked balls, all marked with Crescent Moon masks. It's deliberate, targeting the city's power. There's a group, calls itself the Order, pulling strings. I'm close, but I need time. Grayson's eyes narrowed, his face reddening. Time? Mardi Gras is a powder keg, and these murders are a match. The elite are panicking, threatening to pull their money from the city. You think I care about some fairy tale order? I want arrests, Dubois, not theories. And don't think I haven't heard about that reporter, Moreau, sniffing around. You let her in, you're done. Julien's scar itched, his suspicion flaring. Grayson's urgency felt off, too personal, and the missing evidence, a knife from Levine's scene, a witness log from Pirate's Alley, pointed to more than sloppy work. Evidence keeps disappearing, Chief, he said, his tone low, deliberate. Photos, statements, gone before I can log them. You want results, tell me who's tampering with my case. Grayson's face froze, a flicker of something guilt-fear, crossing his eyes before he leaned forward, his voice a snarl. You accusing me, Dubois? Or someone in my house? Watch your step, boy. You're not untouchable, and neither's your daddy's Creole name. Solve this, or I'll find someone who can. Julien held his gaze, the cigarette's ember glowing in the silence. He didn't trust Grayson, not with the whiskey on his breath, and the way his threats skirted too close to the missing evidence. Someone was protecting the Order, or the killer, and the rot might run higher than he'd feared. He crushed the cigarette in an ashtray and stood. I'll solve it, Chief. But if evidence keeps vanishing, we've got bigger problems than my badge. As he left, the bullpen's clamor swallowed Grayson's muttered curse. Julien grabbed his fedora, his mind racing. Celeste's photo of the Comus Ball guest list, Margot's Crescent Moon mask, Clara's warning, all threads leading to the Order and Vincent Devereaux. But with evidence slipping away and Grayson's boot on his neck, Julien was running out of room to maneuver. The quarter's jazz wailed outside, a siren call to the next clue, and Julien knew he had to move fast, before the killer struck again, or the corruption within his own ranks buried him. Chapter 12. Whispers of voodoo. The French Quarter shimmered under a late morning sun, its Mardi Gras fever unbroken despite the shadow of 3 murders. On Domain Street, the crowds thinned, giving way to narrow alleys where laundry fluttered from balconies and the scent of crawfish étouffée drifted from hidden kitchens. Celeste Moreau moved with purpose, her cloche hat shielding her eyes, her notebook a weight in her coat. The amulet from Madame Zora Laveau hung at her throat, its black bead warm against her skin. The Crescent Moon masks, Henri Levine, Edgar Thibodeau, Judge Leclerc, were no mere killer's signature. They were a ritual, and Celeste needed answers only Zora could provide. The voodoo priestess's shop was a sanctuary of shadows, its indigo door creaking as Celeste entered. The air was thick with incense, sandalwood and sage, mingling with the earthy tang of dried herbs lining the shelves. Candles flickered on altars adorned with feathers, bones and painted veves, their glow casting patterns on the walls. Madame Zora stood at a wooden table, grinding herbs with a pestle, her silver hair braided beneath a crimson tignon. Her dark eyes met Celeste's, sharp and knowing, as if she'd expected her return. "You're back, girl," Zora said, her Creole accent a low hum, resonant as a drum. "The moon's shadow follows you. What do you seek now?" Celeste sat on a stool, her voice steady but urgent. "Answers, Zora. 3 men dead, all elite, all masked with a crescent moon. You called it a dark ritual last time. I need to know what it is, who's behind it. The order, Vincent Devereaux, someone's killing for a reason, and I'm betting you know why." Zora's hands stilled, the pestle resting in the mortar. She crossed to an altar, where a small statue of Ursula, the Loa of love and power, stood draped in pink cloth. "The crescent moon," she began, her voice heavy, "is a sacred sign tied to the Loa to life's cycles. But long ago, before my time, it was twisted by those hungry for power. A ritual, old as the bayou, to bind the spirit's strength through sacrifice. Blood for power, lives for dominion. The crescent marks the pact." Celeste's pencil flew across her notebook, her pulse racing. "Sacrifice? You're saying the murders are part of this ritual? To gain what? Money, influence?" Zora's eyes darkened, her gaze piercing. "Not just money, girl. Control. The kind that bends men's souls, that holds a city in its fist. The order you speak of, they're no myth. They're heirs to that old greed, cloaked in masks and fine suits. But they're not alone. Someone guides them, someone who knows the old ways and perverts them." Celeste leaned forward, the amulet's weight grounding her. "Devereaux? He's tied to the balls, the victims. I saw him, Zora, charming but cold as a snake." Zora's lips tightened, her fingers tracing the vev on the altar. "Maybe him, maybe another. The moon hides many faces. But hear me, Celeste, trust no one. Not your detective, not your friends, not even the mirror. The Order's eyes are everywhere, and they'll cut down anyone who gets too close." Celeste's breath caught, the warning chilling her more than the shop's dim air. She thought of Julian, his scar and stubborn resolve, and the note at the ball, "Leave the moon alone." Zora's words echoed that fear, but Celeste wasn't one to back down. "I'm not stopping, Zora. People are dying, and the truth's worth the risk." Zora sighed, her gaze softening but firm. She pressed a small vial of oil into Celeste's hand, its scent sharp with clove. "Anoint your amulet with this. It'll shield you, but only so far. The moon's ritual is waking, and blood will call more blood. Go, but tread soft, or you'll be the next sacrifice." Celeste slipped the vial into her pocket, the shop's silence pressing against her. As she stepped back into the alley, the Mardi Gras crowds roared nearby, a float's trumpet piercing the air. Zora's words, ritual, sacrifice, trust no one, wove a tighter net around the murders. The Order was real, their power deadly, and Celeste was deeper in their shadow than ever. She clutched her notebook, determined to unravel their secrets, even if it meant facing the moon's wrath alone. Chapter 13. The speakeasy raid Bourbon Street was a fever dream at midnight, its pulse a wild cacophony of jazz and Mardi Gras madness. Gaslights flickered, casting shadows on masked revelers who danced through the French Quarter, their sequined costumes glinting like fireflies. The air was heavy with the tang of bootleg whiskey, fried beignets, and the river's damp breath. Julien Dubois crouched in an alley, his fedora tilted low, his scar a faint line in the dark. The Crescent Moon murders, Henri Levine, Edgar Thibodeau, Judge Leclerc, pointed to Vincent Devereaux and his shadowy order, and this speakeasy, a hub of his operations, was Julien's next lead. Tommy Satch Rousseau knelt beside him, clutching his trumpet case, his dark curls damp with nervous sweat. At 25, the jazzman was quick with a tune and quicker with gossip, but his eyes betrayed unease. "This place is Devereaux's fortress, Julien," he whispered. "His boys are mean and they don't like cops. You sure this is worth it?" Julien's hand rested on the revolver under his coat, his voice a low growl. 3 dead men, Tommy, all tied to Devereaux's world. Evidence is vanishing from my case, and I'm betting answers are here. You in or out? Tommy's grin was shaky but loyal. "In. Just don't let him ruin my horn." They slipped to the speakeasy's side entrance, a battered door marked with a crescent moon scratch, a bootlegger's sign. Julien knocked the code 2 sharp, one slow, and muttered moonshine to a pair of eyes peering through a slot. The door creaked open, revealing a haze of cigarette smoke and the wail of a saxophone. The speakeasy was a den of defiance, its patrons, flappers, dockworkers, and men with eyes too sharp for honest work clustered around tables, sipping illegal gin. A mural of a crescent moon dominated the wall, its paint stark, a silent nod to the order. Julian and Tommy blended in, Julian in a borrowed jacket, Tommy's trumpet case their cover as musicians. They navigated to a back hallway, where a locked door hid Devereaux's office. Tommy's lockpick, a relic of his Storyville hustles, clicked softly, and they slipped inside, the speakeasy's din fading. The office was a study in secrets. A desk strewn with papers, a safe bolted to the floor, and an open ledger on a chair. Julian scanned it, his pulse quickening. Names leaped out: Levine, Thibodeau, Leclerc, linked to shipments labeled Crescent Cargo, and dollar amounts in the thousands. Liquor profits, funneled through Devereaux's shipping empire, with the victims as partners. A column marked Order Tithe was scrawled with the crescent moon symbol, hinting at a deeper purpose. "Gotcha," Julian muttered, tearing out a page and pocketing it. "This ties them to Devereaux and the Order." Tommy's eyes widened, but a shout from the speakeasy froze them. "Raid!" a voice roared, followed by the crash of splintering wood. Boots pounded and Julian's scar itched. Raids didn't hit Devereaux's places, not unless someone was paid to look the other way. Corrupt cops, like the ones burying his evidence under Grayson's nose. "Out now!" Julian hissed, shoving Tommy toward a window. They scrambled through, landing in a reeking alley as flashlights swept the speakeasy's back door. Julian glimpsed Officer Malloy, a Grayson crony with a bribe-tainted smirk, leading the charge. This was no raid, it was a cover-up. They sprinted, weaving through crates and drunk revelers, the Mardi Gras crowds their shield. Gunshots cracked, bullets grazing brick, but the quarter's chaos swallowed their trail. Julian yanked Tommy into a side street, their breaths ragged, the ledger page a burning weight in his pocket. "We made it," Tommy gasped, clutching his trumpet case. "But Devereaux's gonna know we hit his office." Julian lit a cigarette, the match flaring in the dark. "Let him. This ledger's proof the victims were his partners, bleeding liquor money to the Order. But if Grayson's cops are cleaning up for him, we're up against more than a killer." A parade's trombone wailed nearby, its notes a mocking echo of the night's danger. Julian's resolve hardened. The speakeasy had given him a thread, but with corrupt cops and Devereaux's reach, the noose was tightening, around the killer or around him.